Hello and welcome back, guys. We're now starting a new story, Rip and Tear, Big Teddy G. You can find author's profile link in the description. Let's begin 1. Beginning at age 5, Izuku was excited to go find out what his quirk was and why it was taking so long to appear. Hand in hand with his mother, they walked to doctors to see if he truly had a quirk. His mother didn't say anything, but she was worried for her son. She doesn't care what kind of quirk he develops or if he develops one at all. But she knows what quirkless people go through growing up. Izuku always wanted to be a hero, to stop the bad from hurting the innocent. Ever since he saw a hero stop a villain from attacking a civilian when he was a bit younger with his mother at a mall, he was enraptured with the idea of protecting the powerless. He didn't care about ranking. Sure, All Might is awesome and he is the best at stopping people from getting hurt. But he admires him just for that, being the best at stopping the bad guys, not for being the #1 hero. Back to the present, they wait for the doctor to call the Midoriyas for their appointment. "Mama, what do you think my quirk is?" asks Izuku excited. "I'm not sure, no one is, sweetie. We are here just to see if you have a quirk. How we find out what it is will be by trial and error." Inko replies happily to see her son so full of life. Izuku tilts his head in confusion. "What do you mean? Trial and error? What does that mean?" She coos internally at the sight of her son being adorable. "I mean that I didn't know what my quirk was. I found out by accident when I was about your age. I was watching TV on the couch with the remote out of reach and I tried to reach for it without having to get off the couch. I was being lazy. And suddenly it's in my hand," she explained. They hear a nurse call their name and they follow. They meet with one of the doctors in the clinic. "Hello, I'm sure you're excited to see if you have a quirk," the doctor says with a smile to see a child vibrating with anticipation. He tells them that Izuku does have a quirk factor, but so it confirms he has a quirk, to the relief of Inko. Izuku just vibrates more in happiness. His mom puts a hand on his head to calm him down. He looks up with a beaming smile. The doctor looks on with a smile to see the interaction. "We have some further tests to see if we can find out what his quirk is. Just some experiments to see if he activates anything. Or you guys can call it a day and try to figure it out on your own. Up to you." The doctor interrupts the sweet moment. Inko thinks for a moment, before looking at the excited child. "What do you want to do, Izuku?" she asks. Inko personally would like to do the tests in a safe place but will let her son decide. "I want to do the tests," he exclaimed. Making his mother's wish come true. "Well, alright. Please follow me," the doctor says, leading them farther back into the clinic. They go on to do some different tests. Trying to lift a rock without touching it, trying to set said rock on fire. After many tests later, the doctor notices some weights Izuku tried to lift beforehand had some cracks in the handle. Thinking Izuku's quirk had to do something with his hands, he calls him over to try the 10 pounds weight again. He fails to pick it up, too heavy for a 5-year-old child. The doctor sees it has a larger crack going down the handle, and he thinks he has an idea. "Here, try to bend this," as he hands Izuku a thinner wood rod. Izuku looks at it and tries to break it. It snaps immediately. So he hands him something thicker wood. Snap. He goes to a wooden 2x4. It takes him more effort, but Izuku breaks the board in half. While Inko looks on in confusion, how is he strong enough to break a board but not lift a weight? The doctor gives Izuku a thin metal plate. "Try to rip it apart," he asks the child. With a mighty effort, he hears a creak of metal before he is too tired to continue. Izuku looks at the plate to see he had sheared half of it apart. Izuku is so confused about how he ripped metal apart but did not lift a weight off the ground. "Interesting," the doctor says as he takes the plate from Izuku to look at. The metal is torn about 2 inches, a couple more and it would be 2 pieces. The plate is not deformed like he has seen on strength quirk users try, but this is more like 2 people with telekinetic quirks pulled on each side. The small group heads back to the office. Mother and child are confused about how Izuku's quirk works. They all sit down as the doctor takes some paper, about 10 sheets, and gives it to Inko. Try to rip them and tell me how much effort it takes. As he gives 10 more sheets to Izuku. Inko does so with some force showing on her face. The doctor gestures to Izuku to do the same. He does it without much effort at all. Inko thinks she understands what her son's quirk is. Quite an odd mutation from telekinesis and fire breath. Izuku, still confused, asks, "How does my quirk work if I'm not strong but can rip stuff like metal?" The doctor smiles and says, "That's what your quirk does, it rips stuff apart. Very unique, to be able to tear metal but not lift a weight. Then again, just remember, quirks are weird." He shrugs. Izuku, thinking of how he could be a hero with this, almost misses what the doctor says. "Now, any idea what to name your quirk?" Izuku thinks he has a good name. "Yes, name it Rip and Tear." His mother thinks it is a bit violent but doesn't say anything. Happy that her son has a good quirk, they leave the clinic. As they head out, Inko asks him if he wants anything for dinner. Of course, she already knows what he will say. Katsudon. He exclaims. The next day Izuku runs to school, excited to tell Kaken what his quirk is. Kaken already had his quirk, explosion. He has been getting louder and a bit mean, but hopefully he calms down some as they grow. He runs up to his friend. "Kaken, I know what my quirk is." He yells, drawing everyone around to his voice. "Oh really? I bet it's nothing compared to mine," Katsuki says with a look of superiority. As Izuku explains and shows what he can do with some paper. Kaken laughs at him for having such a weak quirk, mocking him by ripping some paper himself. As all the other kids around start to join in, Izuku tries to say he can tear different things, but Katsuki pushes him and says, "You're probably lying, you don't even have a quirk, do you?" As Izuku gets more and more frustrated not being able to say that he could do more, he pushes him back and leaves in a fit of anger. Katsuki thought, how dare he push him, the best. Attacking Izuku with his quirk pushes him to the ground as Kaken's friends watch on with a laugh. Kaken yells, "You're nothing but a quirkless Deku." As the teachers come over to break it up, Izuku stares in anger, betrayal, and sadness. Why would Kaken attack him and say mean things? Friends don't do that. Later, as Izuku is in his room, he thinks about the day. If Kaken wants to be mean, fine, he won't be friends, but this will not stop Izuku from his dream of being a hero. As he plans what he needs to be a hero. His mom comes in to check on him and see he is determined to be a hero. In worry, she thinks it will be dangerous, quirk or not. She leaves to see how she can help him achieve his dream. She sees a flyer in the mail for martial arts for kids and thinks, perfect. Inko tells her son about it and he eagerly agrees. Talking about training his quirk, his mother thinks of what would be a good idea and thinks up of a beach full of trash. That could work, but only she was close by. They sign him up for class and look up what else Izuku would need to be a hero. 2. Growing up time skip. As an 8-year-old, Izuku heads home after practicing his quirk on the trash beach. He thinks back to how much he has improved. That plate the doctor had given him to try his quirk for the first time can be torn into shreds like paper to him. He has been very serious about being a hero and training to be one. At his martial art classes, he does well for his age group but continues to strive to be the best he can be. As he gets home, he showers and heads to his room to finish his homework. Just because he wants to be a hero doesn't mean he gets to slack on his studies, his mother always tells him. He does well in school, always on the top of his class in grades. Speaking of school, Katsuki has not gotten any better, still the JRK he is. At least he can avoid him, he doesn't have anything to prove to Katsuki. If he wants to continue to think that Izuku is lying about having a quirk, let him. He tried to tell him that he did, but he continued to yell and scream that he is better. Izuku just gives up and walks away. His mother calls him to help in the kitchen and goes to do so like the good son he is. As his mom tells him to cut the pork into smaller pieces for cooking. Doing so, he hits a bone he can't cut through and stops before asking his mom what to do. He stops and thinks about his quirk. He has never used it on organic material, always on metal, plastics, and the such. Wood is classified as organic, so why not bone? He does have clean hands, he just washed them. So he grabs the bone and tears it like paper. His mother turns around so fast she almost gives herself whiplash, looking at her son with a thick pork bone in each hand. Izuku looks up with a bit of surprise at how easy it was to break bone with his quirk. He never thought it would be hard, but it was like paper to him. Well, now you know how dangerous quirks can be. Please don't try to do that on anyone unless you are in an emergency, she said with a bit of concern about how simple it would be for him to tear someone apart. He nods and continued to cut the pork, tearing bones apart every once in a while if they get in the way. A year or so later, Izuku is walking home after dark. In a safe neighborhood with plenty of heroes in the day and night watching over the area, he had little too worried about. He went to a local grocery store to get some skis and sweets he snuck into the grocery list. He was snacking on it when he heard a growl from a dark alleyway. He froze and spun to look at a large dog stalking towards him. It didn't seem to have a collar and no one else was nearby to claim he got off their leash. Izuku slowly backed up, scared of this stray dog looking at him like his next meal. He backed away and reached for his phone to call for help. He is good at his martial arts but not to take down a dog about his size. Thinking about how this dog was going to tear him apart and leave his mother alone resolved his will. He will not be eaten alive by some feral dog. As he thought that, the dog pounced and missed Izuku's leg by inches. As he tried to call the police for help on his phone, the dog got him by the leg. Screaming in pain, he looked down at the dog shaking and trying to tear a piece of his leg for food. Izuku punched and punched but why would not let go. With tears in his eyes, he steeled his resolve and grabs the mutt by the jaw and tears it apart. With a whimper and a whine, the dog let go and went limp next to the mauled leg. Eraserhead was just starting his parole and finishing his sweet nectar of life, coffee. When he heard a cry of pain, it sounded young too. Immediately sprinting to the sound, jumping roof to roof, he hears a loud crack and then whimpering. He finds the young green-haired child with a nasty bite mark on his leg, bleeding profusely. He looks at the other shape and sees a large dog. It had to have a quirk or something because it was big. He had read of a report of multiple mauled and eaten carcasses of small animals and other dogs, to keep an eye out, and he is pretty sure he knows who has been leaving small animals eaten. He looks at the animal closely and sees it is dead, not moving. He immediately sees the cause of death, its jaw was ripped open. Ignoring the beast, he runs to the boy and starts applying pressure to the bite. The boy was crying and in pain. Eraserhead looks and tries to calm the kid. "It will be alright, I've already called an ambulance and they will be here soon." "What's your name, kid? And what are you doing out so late?" the hero asks, gritting his teeth in pain. Izuku replies, "I was getting something for Mom at the store, and the dog attacked me." He whimpers in pain. He looks at the man helping and asks part in trying to distract himself from the pain, and part of him is curious. "Who are you? You won't recognize me, but I'm an underground hero, Eraserhead." "What's your name, kid?" he says as he continues to apply first aid. "Izuku Midoriya, hopefully, Mom won't freak out too badly." The green boy replies. The hero huffs in amusement, as he hands a phone next to him from the ground to Izuku. "Better call her now, I think I hear the ambulance." After the kid calls her and the mom screams in worry as to where her son is, he tells her the situation and asks him if he is alright. After a bit of back and forth, he hands the phone to the hero and he looks at it dumbly. He takes it after a sec and is showered in thanks for helping her son. Just trying to claim it's his job. After a bit he hangs up after telling her where the ambulance is going to take her son. So Eraserhead waits with the kid and asks him what he did to the dog and what happened. Izuku goes on to explain his quirk and tells him that he is working to be a hero. The sleep-deprived man tells him to keep up the hard work as the ambulance comes with a cop car to take him to the hospital and the cops to look at the scene of what happened. After seeing what happened and seeing it was a child as what he did to the dog in self-defense, they were all quite shocked. Not that the kid did the right thing, protecting himself with his quirk, but that it was so violent. After the hero explained what the kid's quirk is, they more or less understood. After being in the hospital, Inko burst through the door looking for her hurt son. After being directed to a room, she finds him on a bed with his leg bandaged looking at his mom as she rushes to his side in a crushing hug. After telling her that he was alright, she calmed. Since it was not a bad wound, they decided for Izuku to stay the night for a doctor to heal his leg in the morning. After the nurse gave them the options left, Inko sat next to Izuku to ask, "How are you?" "I told you I'm okay, just scared." He replied, "That's not what I mean. From what the hero said, you violently killed a dog, and I want to say first and foremost I don't care that the dog is dead or that it was violent. You were protecting yourself and that's good, but how do you feel about it?" Izuku thought about, and it was indeed pretty brutal how he defended himself and killed the dog, but that's how his quirk works, and if he didn't he would be dead or at least severely injured. So he didn't feel bad, he supposed. Although he did feel a bit queasy from how violent it was. But he will have to get used to it. Maybe he should study more biology to see what would be the best non-lethal way to use his quirk. Maybe other ways to use his quirk. It is pretty straightforward, rip and tear things. But that's for later. He looks at his mom and says he feels okay. Glad her son is so resilient, she goes home to grab an overnight bag for both of them. After they wake up, Izuku is in slight pain from the pain meds wearing off, and Inko is from a couch in the room. They meet a doctor to fully heal the bite. After some testing to see if the dog was rabid or had other diseases, it didn't have anything of the sort. Izuku was healed and able to see he will have a scar, but nothing so bad. After seeing the wound scar, the old doctor said, "Don't worry, I hear girls love to see a guy with some scars." As Izuku reddens a bit, the doctor chucking gives Inko just some release forms. As the green hair family returns home, Izuku goes straight to his room to look up Eraserhead and more about how he could use his quirk on living beings. After a few hours of finding little on Eraserhead and moving on to his quirk, it's safe to say he can't use his quirk on people. His quirk is meant for ripping and tearing, he can't exactly use it on a person without them losing a limb at best. So he will have to double down on martial arts. But that doesn't mean he won't give up on his quirk training, not just need to find new ways of using it. Now at 10, Izuku heads in on his way to a metal shop to test the limit of his quirk. He knows he has been steadily improving with the trash beach being ripped to shreds apart at times. But all there is at the beach is scrap, nothing hard. So he found a metal shop that has a variety of different metals from aluminum to some pieces of tungsten. That's all he needs to test himself is metal, anything else is very simple for him to tear apart, and plastics and fabrics are as easy to rip as a piece of paper. And from his mom getting some thick bones to test on from the butcher's shop, it's safe to say he doesn't plan on using it on people. Arriving at the metal shop, he asks the man behind the counter if he has some metal he has that is going to the scrap bin. After the man gave him an odd look, Izuku explains his quirk and his goal of being a hero. With that, the man agrees but tells him he had some metal he can test himself on. The owner has some thicker steel he hands to Izuku to try on. As he goes through a pile he gets to the thickest the man had, but barely does anything to it, only starting a small crack on top. With the shopkeeper quite impressed with how strong the kid's quirk is, they continue with different materials the owner has in stock. Aluminum is torn easily with its low density, brass and copper were close to the same as aluminum. Where he had to try with a couple of plates of tungsten. A very high density and tough metal, but he still tore through it all. With all that done, the owner fuses the metal back together with his quirk and they head back to the counter. As Izuku leaves, he thanks the man for his help. As the man watches him go, he thinks of how terrifying that boy's quirk is. Able to see him tear through metal like paper was incredible. He hopes he stays with the hero side, because if he were to go villain, all he would need to do is get a grapple on his opponent, and he has one. 3. Portal time skipped 13 years. As Izuku grows more and more, he understands his quirk and how dangerous it is. Not because of the incident with the dog, No, he already understands how easy it would be for him to kill someone, but he decided when he uses his quirk, not something else. He has come to peace with that, not that he thinks his quirk is dangerous because he can rip and tear anything he can get his hands on. So far at least. He has been practicing his quirk still at the beach and decided he will clean as he goes. Tearing a car in parts to drag them to a dumpster and collecting garbage. So far it is about half done. While practicing he learned a new way to use his quirk. Instead of finding an edge or some way to pry things apart, he is now just jamming his hands into the metal itself and pulling them apart. After all, he is tearing into the metal, so why wouldn't it work? Lo and behold, it does. Now he can just jam both his hands into whatever he wants in 2 pieces and be done. He was very happy with this development. But back to the matter at hand, how dangerous his quirk is. He sat at his desk and thought about, and he could, in theory, he was wary of trying it, tear a hole in the air in front of him. In doing so, one of a couple of things would happen: he tears a hole in space and makes a portal, hooray, a new way to use his quirk. Or tear a hole in space, sking everything around him in like a black hole, not good. The last thing that could happen is to tear a hole in space and break the universe. The last one is more because of a movie he watched with his mom and got stuck in his head. But he really wants to open a portal. While yes, he is happy with his quirk and what he can do. How can he be the best hero he can be if he won't use all he can? In the dojo, he uses all his limbs and muscles, so in being a hero he should use all he has to offer. So he says F it and heads to the beach. When he gets there, he starts by focusing on what he wants to tear. The space in front of him to 5 feet farther ahead. He pictures a portal going in front to the point he wants. Because how else is he going to try this? Ask his teacher how to rip a hole in space. So he will do what he does best, his best. So he focuses on point A and point B and jams his hand in the air in front of him. And he feels something, maybe the air he tore. He tries again and again. Some people walk by seeing a kid throwing their hands in the air and walking on, shaking their heads. So he continued trying to tear a hole in the space in front of him. After the 20th try, he sees something happen, a green and black outline on his hands. He stops and looks at his hands and fingers, and feels all right. So he tries to summon that green and black light again. After 4 more tries he does it, a green and black lightning is emitting from the points of his fingers. He observes it and how it feels, then he pushes his hands deeper into the muted light. It is a bit hard, but he sees his hands go deeper until they are in the middle of his palms. Now he pulls apart, tearing a hole bigger and bigger. After some effort he lets go, expecting it to snap close, but no, he succeeded. A green and black tear in the space with a bit of lighting arcing out the edge is standing in front of him. With a victory scream into the air and a fist pump he looks at the tear. He sees through and sees about 5 feet in front of where he was standing, just like he wanted. He ran to the other side of the tear and he see through it. Smiling, he decided to test it. Now he is smart enough to know to try throwing things through first. Good thing he is on a trashed beach. After a few things go through he looks at the other stuff and sees it's all good. Now something organic. He grabs an apple he brought for a snack later and throws it through. He grabs it and looks at the apple, looks fine, he bites it and tastes fine. So by that logic, it's fine. He finished the apple and decided for the ultimate test, he runs and jumps through the tear in space. And he is fine, just with a jackhammer of a heartbeat. He starts to laugh and then cackle in delight that he can make portals. He can help so many people once he is a hero with a portal to a safe location, so excited he turns to look at the tear again to see it gone. He looks and it seems to have closed, good, because he had no idea how he was going to close it. That's the next test then. He tries to open another tear and does so on the 3rd try. He needs more practice to where he can open them in a second. This time he opens it with the other end as far as he can see on the beach, which would be about 125 feet. All seems to be fine, he shrugs and jumps through. The tear closed after, so it seems if he goes through the tear it closes behind him, but what if he wants to close it without going through it? So he opens a tear this time as far as he can see into the ocean, to test his limits. It opens, he feels no strain, no pressure, nothing, all good. He looks through the tear and sees all blue. He doesn't know how far he opened the portal, but he sure isn't going through it. Lest he wants to drown, who knows how far from shore. So he focuses on the edge of the tear and tries to close it, but nothing. Okay then, grabbing it also doesn't work, it's fixed in place, so he just thinks close. And it works. How simple. This is great. As he was celebrating, he receives a message from his mom that dinner will be done soon. Looking at the time, he sees he spent hours working on this. With a happy smile he heads home, but before that one last test, the picture's a tear in his living room. He opens a tear on the second try and looks through the tear to see his mother standing in the kitchen looking straight at me. Izuku cackles some more at the success and jumps through. His mother still staring at him, waiting for an explanation. He smiles even more and goes to hug his mother. While I do love the hug, can you explain why there was a hole in the living room that scared the green from my hair? And you came through it. As she hugs back, demanding an explanation. He was confused. Why did you get scared? It was quiet. No. He asks his mother. Also confused, she says no, there was a tearing sound coming from the living room, that's why she got spooked. Thinking back to the beach, he doesn't remember hearing a noise, maybe only from the end tear, you can hear it. Shrugging, he goes on to explain how he had a theory that he could tear a hole in space, basically making a portal from one end to the other. He most definitely did not mention the possibility of getting killed in the process. She looked at him with some wonder on how to make a simple quirk and trained it to this. So proud of her son, she hugs him and tells him so. The next morning he heads off to school to deal with Katsuki and his loud proclamation of how he is the best and how he is a useless Deku. Izuku long has given up on correcting him and just accepts whatever he yells. He does defend himself, but never with his quirk, otherwise he would be blacklisted from going to UA. The teachers always are a bit confused since they have access to his record and can see that Izuku does have a quirk and is quite strong, so why does Katsuki yell about Izuku being quirkless? They do stop Katsuki from assaulting outright him in front of them, so that's nice. So it goes on, he goes to school, then the dojo, then the beach for cleaning and quirk practice. In his martial arts studies, he is very good at grappling and some others based on getting his hands on his opponents. Izuku, of course, never uses his quirk during class lest he kills another student. But it is a dojo where you can use their quirk during spars, and he always tells his opponents to do so. After all, in real life, a villain won't use their quirk just because Izuku is not. It's not a fair world. 4. Canon. At 15 years of age, Izuku head to school after getting up, grabbing a quick breakfast. He sees a giant villain next to the train tracks and thinks he should head out as he hears a hero shout out his special move. While he likes heroes and quirks, he has calmed down from writing every quirk he sees to every quirk he finds unique. Another strength quirk pass, someone who looks like has a whole galaxy in their eyes, in the book. He arrives at school with some time to spare. As he waits for the teacher to arrive, Katsuki shows up and sneers at Izuku, just for existing, pages. Now at the end of the day, the teacher told everyone that they should all be thinking of their future, but he already knows what everyone wants to be, a hero. And there goes Katsuki yelling about how he will be the only one going to UA and that he is the best. The teacher looks at Izuku and he slowly shakes his head that he wants to keep his application to his school private. He ends class and tells everyone to start studying for the entrance exam. As he heads out, Katsuki tries to grab his notebook and Izuku pulls it away and stores it in his backpack. Katsuki is saying something or another, but he doesn't listen, so he jumps down the stairs as the bomber gives chase. As soon as Katsuki is out of the eye line, he opens a tear and jumps through, closing behind him. He continued to walk home. As he walks under an underpass, he hears a noise coming from the sewers and backs away, seeing a sludge villain come sliding out of the sewers. Saying something along the lines of needing a flesh suit, Izuku didn't listen anymore and dodged his attempts of capturing Izuku. As he was thinking of a plan to open a tear under him to the middle of the ocean, the sewer lid pops out, and there behind the villain is All Might. After smashing the villain, and he bottles him up. When he was done he asked to sign Izuku's notebook. As he did he offered All Might to open a tier to a police station. He gladly agrees and thanks Izuku for the transportation. While in his head thanking Izuku for saving him from straining himself with his time limit. As Izuku headed to the dojo he thought today was pretty alright. He got to meet the #1 hero after all. Then he thought of what he was going to tell Mom. He cringed a bit and let that be future Izuku problems. She was not happy to hear her son was in a villain attack but glad he was unhurt and helped All Might. So 10 months passed by with him continuing to clean the beach and working on tearing faster and faster. He has been pretty fit ever since he joined the dojo, so he continued his training. During the 10 months, he finished cleaning the beach and decided to bring his mother and show her where he started. And finally, the UA entrance exam was here. As he walked, he heard Katsuki yelling about how Izuku shouldn't be here. After he was done he dodged a shove from Katsuki and followed behind to the entrance. As he walked he tripped on a loose brick and tried to catch himself but began to spin in midair. Talking to himself, thinking he activated a part of his quirk he didn't know about, he heard a giggle from his right. A girl his age with a bob of brown hair said, "Sorry, didn't want you to fall before the exam." As she set him upright he didn't know what to say. He only had Katsuki as a friend, and look at how he turned out. He never spoke to a girl before, so he went with his gut. Thank you, I'm Izuku Midoriya," he said slightly too loud as he introduced himself. She smiled and introduced herself as Ochaka Uraraka. As they small-talked they headed to their exams. After many tests later he was in front of the practical exam site. As he looked around he saw Uraraka and decided to head over to calm her down, maybe with good luck. Sadly he was stopped by a tall teen with square everything. Claiming that he was going to distract her from the exam, he decided to be an adult and ignored him completely. Before he could though the exam started and he wasted no time opening a tear as far as he could see into the faux city. As he went through he saw many robots coming towards him. He smiled thinking how well he will do. He began to rip and tear through any robot that got close. Grabbing parts of one robot with one hand and he ripped parts until he knew what to take out. So he ran through the city, sometimes taking a robot apart, other times helping distract another to help another test taker. He didn't mind. At one point he just began running through the robot, shoving his hands through the chest and pulling it apart without stopping. By this point in his life, his hands are just all callous from endless ripping and tearing. His quirk does work with gloves but they end up being torn after a little while, so bare hands he will do. After all, why does he need any defense in his martial arts? He discovered that for him offensive is the best defense. By all means, he is not super strong or extra durable, he is a man that can rip and tear very well. So instead of trying to block a robot swing at him, he instead grabs the limb and tears as he rips with the other hand. He has long lost count of how many points he had, so he had to make sure it was enough. As others watch him, they feel slightly horrified at how easily Izuku can tear robots apart. Thinking he has super strength they move on. High above the teachers of UA watch over, most though have eyes glued to one screen with a green-haired boy tearing through a robot, sometimes literally. "Hey, Nizu. What's that kid's quirk?" Present Mike asks as he watches and thinks he has some sort of super strength. The rat, bear, and thing respond with a name and simple quirk description. Rip and tear, the ability to rip and tear anything he likes. Oh, that is unique. As he thinks of the possibilities of that quirk. So not strength, just good at pulling stuff apart. Says ectoplasm, I wonder if he can tear into T-. Midnight was cut off by a coffee styrofoam cup hitting her in the head. Stop that. Eraserhead says as he remembered the kid from long ago. Glad to see him doing well enough. Well, I think it's time, no. The Chimera says as he hits a button next to his chair. Back in the exam area, Izuku just finished tearing apart a three-pointer's head off. When he feels a rumble in the ground and a large zero-pointer comes around a corner. Holy SHT, that thing is massive. Izuku yells. As he watches other test takers run past him to get away from the Goliath robot, he notices a person fall and get pinned with rubble. Thinking he has enough time to get to them before the zero-pointer splatters them like a ripe watermelon, he sprints to them. Seeing that it's Uraraka once he is close enough to see through the dust that picked up. He asks her if she is alright, and she tiredly responds she is just pinned and has used her quirk too much and can't use it on the rubble. He starts to tear into the block to light the load to pick it up and move it. Finally, he succeeded and shoves it to the side, but the pale look on the girl's face makes Izuku spin to see the zero-pointer. Too close for comfort and raising its fist to flatten them. He immediately tears a portal in the ground, the other side leading to the entrance of the fake city. Grabbing her in a princess carry, her yelping in surprise and fright, he jumps through just in time as the fist rockets down and destroying the space they just vacated. Falling, Izuku turns and uses his own body as a cushion so Uraraka doesn't get more hurt than she needs to. Slightly shaking at the way to a near-death experience, he looks down at the girl still clinging to him. "Are you alright?" Izuku asks as he tries to get his breath back in his lungs. He faintly hears a buzzer signaling the end of the exam. Shakily she says, "Thank you." "Yeah, I'm okay, just my ankle hurts but better than being killed right." She laughs weakly. They both hear a steady tapping, looking over they see Recovery Girl, the school nurse. "Should I come back later?" she asks with a small smirk at their position. Both blush furiously at how Uraraka is still on top of Izuku with her holding him. They immediately separated, him helping her so she doesn't hurt her foot anymore. Not looking at each other. Izuku asks Recovery Girl to look at her ankle. As she heals her, the nurse hands out gummies. "The results of your test will be mailed out in a week, you guys can head on out." She turns and looks for more injuries. Izuku helps Uraraka up and both start to head out. "How did you do?" he asks. "Alright, I hope, how about you?" the Gravity Girl asks back. "Pretty good, I lost count after a while and just focused on getting enough just in case." As they continue to talk about the exam, they part ways and exchange numbers to keep in contact. Izuku heads home happy that he might have made his first friend in a while. A pretty one at that, he shakes the thought out. He finally gets home a bit tired from the adrenaline leaving his body. His mom is there asking him how he did and if he was alright. Smiling he says he is tired and tells her he made a friend. Happy for her son she tells him to go take a shower and that dinner will be ready soon. Agreeing he heads off, he feels a buzz and sees it's a message from Uraraka. "Gravity Girl, made it home, and I'm ready to sleep for the rest of the week." Smiling he started to reply when his mother looks down the hall as Izuku stands in the middle of it. "What are you doing?" she asks confused. What would have made him stop in the middle of the hallway? He responds without thinking, "I'm texting Uraraka." As he hears a cry and turns to see his mother with tears in her eyes, "A girl, my baby is growing up." She wails as she tackles Izuku in a hug. He tries to explain it's not like that, but is drowned out by more cries. A week later he is doing some light exercises in his room every once in a while texting back to Uraraka. His mother bursts in with an envelope with the UA stamp in the middle. He tells Uraraka he got his results and goes to open it with his mother in his room with him. A disc slips out and he looks at it curious as it turns on loudly, All Might yelling. Scaring both the green hair family members, he throws it and lands upright continuing where it left off. "I am here, to give you your exam results. You may be wondering what I am doing here, while you are looking at UA's newest teacher. What's that, hurry up. Alright, so you passed the test ranking number 2 right under a recommended student. Congrats, but now on to the practical, you scored a mighty 78 villain points giving you first place." All Might exclaims. Izuku starts to tear up happy he is on the road to achieving his dream. His mother cries with him hugging him, proud of him. But wait, there is more. How can we call ourselves a hero school if we don't reward those with heroic actions? As he shows clips of Izuku helping and assisting other test takes. Finally cutting to Izuku rushing to get Uraraka out from underneath the rubble and the video missing when he portals out oddly enough. Just showing him with Uraraka on top of him. Izuku feels his mother poking him with a smirk, embarrassed he decided not to look at her, and he continues to watch. That's why we are awarding you 70 rescue points. At a total of 148 points, I look forward to seeing what kind of hero you become and will see you later. He finishes up and the device shuts off. Looking at his mother in joy for getting into the hero program. He sees her looking at him saying, "She seemed to be clinging to you very tightly in the last clip, anything you need to tell me, Izuku?" She asks while having a scandalous smirk on her face. He blushes so hard, his mother laughs at his embarrassment. Hugging him, happy he got in. They hear a buzz and look at Izuku's phone with multiple texts from the said girl. His mother wiggles her eyebrows at him and heads out to cook something in celebration. After he calms down he looks at his phone to see Uraraka also passed and will be in the same class as him. He blushes thinking of his mother's actions just minutes before. 5. Classes start on the morning of the first day of UA. He struggles to tie his tie, getting frustrated he is tempted to tear it apart. He looks at it and says "F it, good enough." He head out and says goodbye to his mother with a big hug. Taking a short train ride to the campus, he looks up at the gate of UA. With some time to spare he finally finds his classroom door. Someone definitely built this place like a maze. Praying to any god willing to listen that Katsuki won't be in the same class as him. Opening the door he is greeted by shouting, "The gods have forsaken Izuku apparently." Sighing he takes a few steps in when Uraraka shows up behind him and greets him happily. "I'm glad to see you again, Midoriya," she says to her savior. She looks at his messy tie and frowns slightly. Noticing her gaze, he says in an embarrassed tone, "Yeah, I know it looks bad, I never had a reason to learn how to tie a tie. So I ended up with this." Freezing as she reaches forward and unties it, she flips his collar and ties it properly. Patting it with satisfaction, she realized how close she got to him. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable, just wanted to fix it is all." She backs up looking at him with a slight blush. Sporting his own blush at her actions, he waves it of trying to move past it. "Thanks, I appreciate it, I'll try to learn how to do it right next time." Uraraka looking in the classroom she sees some unique people, some talking between each other and a pair of golden and black eyes looking back right at her with huge teasing smile. Knowing she will be trouble she looks away to another pair of eyes looking not at her but at Izuku. And not just looking but glaring and sneering so hard he looks like he is trying to set his head on fire. Not liking the look she is about to ask Izuku when she sees him looking at the ground behind her. Looking back she sees the largest worm on the ground shuffling towards them. With a slight shriek she jumps behind Izuku staring at the grub. Izuku in his infinite wisdom crouches down and pokes it. It wriggled some more. "Don't touch it." "What is it, a worm?" Uraraka says to Izuku, "I was thinking it is a caterpillar, a really big one. Maybe it's someone's quirk." Looking back to the now quiet class, thinking maybe it's one of theirs. The rest of the class is now looking at what is going on, some shaking their heads to his unasked question. "Don't worry bud, we'll find your owner." Patting the caterpillar, as it wriggled some more he sees it stand and a zipper sounds as a tired black-haired man stand out of his sleeping bag. He looks at Izuku with a complicated look in his face. "Why would you think a caterpillar is roaming the halls?" With a confused tone. Completely embarrassed that he was patting his probably homeroom teacher and the man that prevented him from bleeding out. He can only reply with a question of his own. "Why were you crawling on the ground in your sleeping bag?" Completely ready to get expelled in his first day of UA, pinching the bridge of his nose with a sigh, he just moves past it all and looks at his class. Introducing himself as the homeroom teacher and his name, Shoyuta Aizawa, he tells them to change into their gym uniforms and meet him at the field. Rubbing his face with his hands to dispel the lingerie embarrassment, he feels a pat on his shoulder. Looking over he sees Uraraka holding in a laugh, she says. "It could have been worse." As they line up in front of their homeroom teacher. He explains that they are going to do a quirk apprehension test. Uraka asking about the introduction ceremony, he just says it's a waste of time. Throwing a ball to Izuku, he says. Midoriya, you came in first in the entrance exam, what was your longest throw in middle school? Responding, about 70 meters, alright, now do it with your quirk, do whatever, just do it without leaving the circle. Aizawa says. That Deku doesn't have a quirk, I don't understand how someone like him got here in the first place, let alone first in the entrance exam. He probably cheated. Katsuki sneers at Izuku. With some quiet talking between classmates about what he just said. Uraka glares at the boy, annoyed already with his attitude. Izuku meanwhile rolls his eyes. You didn't listen when I was 4 and you won't listen until now. Izuku says with an angry glare back at Katsuki. Getting into the circle, he thinks of the farthest point he has been to or can see. He looks around and sees something that gives him an insane idea. With a wild grin. He looks over to his teacher and asks, do you have something to tie me down so I don't get swept away during my turn? With confused looks all around, Aizawa nods his head and wraps Izuku around his waist with his capture scarf and gives him a nod, curious to see what he is going to do. Telling everyone else to brace themselves, he starts. Dropping the ball at his feet, it won't matter anyways. He gets ready and hopes it will work. Looking up at the moon still visible during the day, he throws his hands forward and with more effort than he ever had to he pulls and tears a hole in front of him. Immediately he sees the black void of space and sees the greatest view of the earth, with the sight so came the suction of space. With some gasps in the crowd of students, he feels the scarf hold him in place. With everything getting sucked into the tear in front of him, he sees the ball go through and immediately shuts the tear. Falling backwards with no more pull forward. He thanks Aizawa for holding on to his literal lifeline. Glad that worked out. Izuku says, and he stands up, dusting himself off. While Aizawa glares at him for such a dangerous stunt he pulled off. His device beeps with an error message that it is out of range of the earth. Showing it to his students. While his did what he was asked of, please don't try do something like that again. With all the students talking with excitement, one wasn't. Angry that he has been tricked all these years, he rushes at Izuku. Yelling, Deku. Tell me how you did that. With Eraserhead's scarf still wrapped Izuku's waist, he couldn't stop him in time before he reaches his target. Izuku immediately goes on the offensive and grabs Katsuki when he swings at him and throws him to the ground, still holding his wrist. He twists it behind Katsuki's back to pin him down. Aizawa, the pro hero he is, rushes to break it up before it escalates any further. Katsuki continued to scream and struggle, but no avail. When Aizawa got close enough, Izuku released him and backed away quickly, still prepared for him to attack again. Before that the teacher got his scarf on Katsuki as he got up to charge at Izuku. What the hell is this made of? Katsuki yells and struggles some more. Enough. Eraserhead yells as he glances at Izuku but is not worried he will attack. Seeing him still in his defensive form, he turns back to Katsuki. You are on very, very thin ice, Bakugo. Give me a reason why I shouldn't expel you from my class for attacking another student unprovoked. Katsuki, stunned at what the hobo said to him, yells back, because I'm the best, and the future #1 hero. That Deku shouldn't even be here lying to me about being quirkless all our lives. He glares at Izuku. I never ever said I was quirkless, you are the one that didn't believe me when I showed you what my quirk could do. You are the one who told everyone at our school I was quirkless. I never corrected you because I didn't see any reason you deserved the truth you covered your eyes from. Izuku said calmly, seeing his homeroom teacher have him handle. I'll give you one more chance, but if you do something like this again you are out of my class, understood? He looks into Katsuki's but knows already he won't last very long. Whatever. Katsuki looks away. As the others look on, some murmur about how violent Katsuki looked, while Uraka is glad to see Izuku unharmed and glares at Katsuki for what she is putting together from what she overheard. After that, Izuku walks back to his class and is greeted by congratulations on how insane his so-called throw was. Never receiving praise to this degree and this many people, he stutters a thanks and rejoins the line. Someone saying to the others something about having fun, the mood changes. You are not here to have fun. You are here to learn to be the best heroes you can be. How about this for fun? The last place will be removed from this hero course. He looks over his students. Most complaining but not have no other option, they move on. Izuku not too worried about the tests, he will probably land in the high middle. Uraka slinks up next to him and tells him how well he did. With a slight blush he thanks her and they do the rest of the tests. As he watches all these unique quirks he wishes he had his notebook with him to write every detail. But later, as he lines up for the 50-meter dash, Katsuki glares at him and says something about destroying him in this. As they started, Izuku just dives into the air and tears a portal open while rolling forward past the end of the line. Getting first in that exercise as well, he can hear Katsuki grinding his teeth. Thinking about how much he must do that, he wonders how damaged his teeth are, poor dentist. Izuku gave his all, using his portals where he could like the distance jump, and high jump. His fit body could land him in a good enough place in the test. As they went along, he was greeted by his classmates seeing how friendly he was. He got the names of most of his new friends, one got very close. Mina grabbing his arm and squeezing it, trying to get a reaction from Uraka. As she looked at the other girl, she froze. She felt again and felt how muscular Izuku was. From endless practice and cleaning the beach he was a beefcake. Now getting more and more embarrassed, Mina, can you please let go? Izuku almost pleaded. Sure, sorry. Mina let go while seeing Uraka giving her a look from the corner of her eye, sweating at the intense look. One short student was glaring at Izuku, jealous of the attention he was getting. Catching the glare, looked back. He was slightly confused and wondering what he did to him. In the end of all the tests, Izuku placed first. Kinda surprised, he thought he was high middle of the pack. Seeing the last place, Mineta crying about how he will never get any. He was disgusted, kinda glad he was getting removed now. But Eraserhead telling them it was a ruse to make them do their best, burst that bubble. Now getting changed back to his school uniform to go home. He chats to the other boys. Finally heading out he meets up with Uraka and head out to the train station. While walking, she realized she doesn't know what his quirk is, asking this, how does your quirk work, Midoriya? It lets me rip and tear anything I get my hands on, not the flashy but I made it mine. Izuku turns to her with smile. Confused she asks, then how did you make those portals? That's like a whole another quirk. Izuku laughs and tells her about he first opened a tear, ready to break the universe. Uraka horrified looks at Izuku and hits him. Don't do that, you'll end up hurting yourself if it didn't go as you wanted. Uraka lectures. Rubbing his arm, Izuku replies, alright but don't worry, think it worked because I was thinking of the other side of the tear. Otherwise, well I guess I wouldn't have to worry about this conversation. Smiling at Uraka. 6. Battle trial. The next day, Izuku walking to UA. Uraraka catches up to him on the way. Fixing his tie once again they laugh, Izuku not wanting to learn how to tie his tie if this is their new greeting. They chat with nothing in particular for a topic, just enjoying each other's presence. Izuku always expected hero school to be more exciting, with pros teaching every class including serving lunch. But no, it was pretty average after the hype of meeting the pro. Some of the teachers were pretty straightforward with teaching, like cementos or ectoplasm. But others had their own quirks. Mike liked to be extravagant and loud. Midnight was more interactive with the students, to the point where he wondered how she was still a teacher. After a great lunch, hero class arrived. With all the students chatting, wondering who will teach them. All Might burst through the door. In a ridiculous pose he exclaims. I'm coming through the door like a normal person. Coming in like a lunatic, he marches forward and tells the class to meet him in the training city. For battle trial, you will need the gear you requested. As All Might clicks a remote that opens the students' suits. Looking forward, Izuku can see Katsuki almost frothing at the mouth when AM said battle. Knowing this will somehow end up badly for someone, he hopes it won't be Izuku. Grabbing his suitcase he heads out to the locker room. After getting equipped in his suit he looks at himself in the mirror. After a long time of thinking about what to submit for his suit, he finally got what he wanted. When thinking about how his quirk worked he knew he couldn't wear gloves. If he did he would end up going through them a dime a dozen. So instead he went sleeveless with a black vest, it should be able to be bullet and piercing proof. The vest went up to his mouth covering his vitals, similar to bomb unit armor. With headgear he has a dark green helmet with a visor that matches his hair. Breathes he choose simple combat breathes with knee pads and combat boots. The only equipment he asked for was an emergency knife and a first aid kit attached to his lower back. He thought of giving it more design but chose this as a base and add or remove as he progressed in his classes. He walked out with his helmet in hand and met up with his class. Looking at his classmates' costumes, he realized that he is very logical. Skin-tight clothes, and little to no armor to anyone, he wondered if he should have been more colorful as well. He sees two that shouldn't be allowed but there they stand. One pair of floating gloves and boots, he prays she is actually clothed and not naked. Looking at the Yaoyorozu, it's no better than a bathing suit. Uraraka walks up to him in her suit, also skin-tight might he add. DMN Midoriya, you look really cool. Like you are going to war in a movie. She circles him to look him up and down. Not being able to look at her directly, he compliments her suit as well. Catching one of his classmates leering at the girls he glares at Mineta until he feels the stare. Looking eye to eye, Izuku slowly shakes his head and Mineta scurried away. Finally, AM greets his students again, complimenting their suits. Internally asking who approved some of these requests, he will talk to the principal later about it. Continued on he glances at his notes. And explains the trial. 2v2, villain versus hero teams, with random teams. With the students asking questions, AM waits for all to be finished. He answered all of them with a stern warning to Katsuki to not go overboard. With the teams selected, Izuku finds his partner and finds it to be Uraraka. Happy to be paired with someone he is familiar with, she sees who they will be fighting. And of course, it was a matter of time, it was Katsuki. With that ugly sneer, he always puts on, he glares at me with a smile. Not giving in to his level, Izuku just puts on his helmet with a hiss, sealing it to his suit. Looking at Uraraka he sees that she is giving him a stink eye and pulls her away to start planning. He asked her if she wants to end it quickly or does she want to show what she's got. Confused she asked what he means. I could portal us to the building across to see where the bomb is located and then portal right into the room, and boom, we win. Or we go in without portals and show what we can do. Izuku explains. Uraraka chose to go through the front door, they plan to split up as soon as Katsuki jumps them. Her going for the bomb and him taking out Katsuki and then joins her. It's all going to plan. Katsuki jumps out and tries to take out Izuku while screaming about how he lied to him about his quirk, and Uraraka runs to the stairs. They fight with Izuku redirecting Katsuki's explosions and throwing in a punch every chance he could. Katsuki didn't hurt Izuku very much, only slight burns. Getting frustrated he gives a heavy right hook while screaming, "Where is that quirk of yours? Are you looking down on me, you Deku?" Izuku hates that name, it's so annoying. Like a fly that would never go away, always buzzing next to his ear. Getting mad he grabs his right hook by the gauntlet and tears it apart, leaving his arm exposed. "There is my quirk, happy now," he grits out. While Katsuki is shocked, Izuku grabs him by the other arm and pins him to the ground, just like the other day. Shaking off his shock at how Izuku tore his gauntlet so easily, he realizes he had been captured with the tape. Screaming over AM's voice saying that he is out. Izuku looks at him and prays he takes the loss. But he knows he won't, he should have knocked him out. Too late now, hopefully, Katsuki won't do anything too stupid. running up the stairs, while asking Uraraka where she was. It's one floor above, she is in the room with Ida and she can't catch him. Telling her to corner him by one wall, Izuku waits. When he gets the signal that Ida is by the wall specified, Izuku tears through the wall and surprised Ida. Seeing him distracted, Uraraka jumps for the bomb and wins the trail for them. Nice work Izuku. She freezes as she calls him by his given name, trying to back up. He stops her, it's fine you can call me Izuku, Uraraka. He says with rosy cheeks even though no one can see because of his helmet. Then you can call me Ochako. She looks away flustered. As AM calls them back, Katsuki bursts through the doorway. No way I'm going to lose to someone like you. Do you know what my quirk does, don't you, Deku? As he raises his other gauntlet, aiming it right at him. With AM yelling not to fire, the trial is over, and Katsuki will kill him if he fires. He won't die if he dodges. He yells as he pulls the pin. Meanwhile, Izuku with Ochako and Ida right next to him gets in front of them both. Knowing this will only escalate, he readies himself. Seeing that he is actually trying to kill him, he tears the biggest portal to cover himself and more importantly the people behind him. Opening the other side to outside the building, he waits until he feels the heat disappear. Closing that portal with a thought, he opens another right behind Katsuki. With a brutal hit to the back of his head, he grabs the other gauntlet and tears it apart. Pinning Katsuki roughly to the ground, he looks up to see Ochako and Ida all right, but he can see a tremble in Ochako's hands. With adrenaline running through his body, he makes sure Katsuki can't move, and if he uses his quirk again he will only hurt himself. AM finally arrives at the bomb room and looks over the students to see all of them still whole. Good job young Midoriya, I'll take him from here. He said with steel in his voice. Knocking out a howling Katsuki, he picks him up and takes him away. Heading back to the observation room, Ochako and Ida thank him for saving them both. Happy to see them all right, he waves them off. As soon as they open the door they are bombarded by their classmates. Not us to being the center of attention, Izuku backs up slightly. Telling them all they were all right, they relent and give Izuku some breathing room. AM shows up after dropping off Katsuki in the nurse's office, making sure he was secured. He will deal with that later. Well, that could have been worse. Let's move on to who was the MVP of this round. AM says, looking over his charges. Yasuruzo raises her hand and says that Izuku is the MVP. From planning and then saving the three from getting torched by Katsuki. AM agrees and they move on to the next match. That's how the rest of the day goes. Some matches are more interesting than others. Ochako is next to him while she listens to him mutter to himself. Not interrupting, just trying to absorb what he is saying. Mina smirks and points them out to Hagakure. She giggles with her new friend. They are going to have fun this year. The day ends with no more injuries than bumps and bruises. With the majority of the class walking out of the gates together chatting about the trials, they split off. Meanwhile, AM and Eraserhead are sitting with the principal and Katsuki. While discussing what happened in the trial, Katsuki grits his teeth. Thinking about how it's all Deka's fault. As punishment, you will be suspended for the rest of the week and will attend anger management classes. This is your second strike, one more and you are out of the hero course, if not UA as a whole. Accepting his punishment, he leaves, planning on how to put that Deku in his place. 7. Reporters and class presidents waking up with a slight headache. Izuku gets ready. Not even trying with his tie, he just throws it around his neck and lets the ends dangle. He knows some bullshittery will happen today, he just knows it. Downing his coffee, he meets up with Ochako. Seeing his disheveled appearance, she asks. You alright, Izuku? You don't look so well. As she grabs his tie to fix it. With a smile at her actions, he already feels the headache leaving. I'm fine, just woke with a headache. I feel some SHT is going to happen, I just know it. With a suspicious squint of the eye. Giggling, I don't think I've ever heard you swear, then again I've heard worse at my parents' construction sites. She says, looking at him. What makes you feel like something is going to happen? Anytime I wake with a headache something has happened. Lost my phone one of those times, and another villain attacked me. For example. He says with his head on a swivel. Are you alright? She asked with worry in her tone and eyes. Izuku just waved it off saying the villain never touched him, and AM stopped him. As they walk on they hear some voices and see a crowd of reporters. They stop and look at the sea of cameras and microphones. Waving his hands at the reporters, he says, "See, bullshit." Not wanting to get closer lest the parasites grab onto them. With a chuckle, Ochako agrees with his powers to sense bullshit. They stand there as they think about how to get past them without assaulting a civilian. They throw ideas from a distraction to jumping the UA walls. As they give up on another plan other students of UA from other courses including his own join the two. Looking over he sees about 20 random students next to them, also thinking of a way to get past the leeches. A couple from his class gets close to him and Ochako. Looking at the time, he says, "F it. I'm breaking the law today." Throwing his hands in the air. With the other students looking at him he throws his hands forward and tears a hole from him to the other side of the UA gate, next to the entrance doors. Eraserhead on his way to try to disperse the crowd sees the portal open and prepares for a villain but recognizes the green lighting edge of the portal. As Izuku gestures toward the tear in space, he says, "It opens right next to the building, go ahead, I'll be the last one." Kirishima and Kaminari both thanked Izuku and walked through. With the rest of the crowd of UA students going after seeing it safe. "You're not going through?" Ochako asks as she stands by Izuku. "No, I have to be the last, or else the tear closes behind me." He explains as the last of the students go through with Ochako last and Izuku following behind her. They come face to face with their homeroom teacher looking at him with a dead look in his eyes. Thinking he is going to reprimand him, Aizawa just turns and tries to get the reporters to leave. With a sigh of relief Izuku and Ochako laugh a bit and head to class. As he gets to class he sees Katsuki not in his seat or the room at all. Ignoring this he waits for class to start. A tired Eraserhead shows up and goes on to tell them how they did on the battle trials yesterday. Explaining how Katsuki has been punished and will return in a week. Looking at Izuku, ready for a talking to about his illegal quirk use or how rough he was taking down Katsuki. All Aizawa says is, "Good job." With a nod, not sure what he was referring to Izuku just accept it with a smile. Then Aizawa goes on to tell the class to choose a class president and promptly goes to his sleeping bag. "Poor guy, I'll get him a coffee later." Sound erupts about how almost everyone wants to be the president. Ida tells everyone to vote for it and we will decide that way. In the end, Izuku was voted in with Momo as vice. He looks directly at Ochako and mouths, "More bullshit." With that, he goes up to give his speech. "Presidents do that right. As president, I do declare that this is a bad idea, that is all." Yaoyorozu beside him just chuckles and goes on to write her phone number to make a group chat for 1A. They all agree and have a chat room made up in a few minutes. As lunch rolls around, Izuku sits with Ochako. With a heavy sigh he digs in, Ochako says, "Oh, calm down you drama queen, it's not that bad." With more of their classmates sitting down. "It's just more responsibility that I didn't want is all." He says with another dramatic sigh as he eats. With laughs going around the table, Mina speaks up. "Don't worry, you'll do fine, that's why I voted for you. And also for opening a portal past those reporters." Agreements go around the lunch table. With Mina, Kaminari, Kirishima, and Ida at the table. With more sitting down as they get their food. An ear-piercing alarm goes off, with one of the third years saying it's an intrude alarm and should leave. Izuku instead gets on the table looking around to see if he can spot anything. He is about to follow the crowd when he sees it's the reporters. He looks for a way to get everyone's attention when he sees Ochako get swept up by the crowd. Getting angry that she might get hurt he tears a portal to the top of the door next to the exit sign and rips his fingers into the wall for a handhold. Yelling that's only the reporters, and to calm down he jumps down and checks on Ochako, seeing she is alright. He gathers the rest of 1A and heads to class. He sees on his way to class that the gate is now dust. It seems that even more bullshit has arrived. 8. USJ Next morning Izuku wakes, but he feels like something is going to happen. He has no headache, so that only makes him worried. Praying it's only something he ate that is making him feel like this, he prepares and head out. Meeting up with Ochako like always, with the fixing of the tie, they walk in a peaceful silence. Until someone yells out to them, turning around they see it's Mina. "Hey guys. How are you doing?" The pink ball of energy asks, with a bit too much enthusiasm in the morning to be normal. "I'm good, how's your morning, Mina?" Ochako responds. "Alright." With a shrug, looking at both of them with a smirk she asks. "You two are always together, are you mayhaps a couple?" With the tips of her fingers covering her mouth. Both with a bright blush, Izuku says in a rush. No, we are just good friends. We met during the entrance exam and we became friends. That's all." Feeling slightly odd at saying that out loud. Ochako nods along, but not liking the feeling inside her at the last part. "Oh really, so you're single, Midori?" Mina hooking her arm in his as they continue to walk to school. Not knowing what to do in this situation, Izuku just answered in the affirmation. Ochako not liking how close Mina is getting, she also hooks arms with Izuku's other side. Looking at Mina, ready to defend her territory. Mina looking back with a grin, internally laughing at getting the reaction she wanted. Meanwhile Izuku can only look back and forward from Mina and Ochako in confusion of what is going on. Arriving at school, with many looks of confusion and some of jealousy seeing him with two pretty girls on his arms. Finally arriving at the classroom door, Izuku still confusion at his predicament, Mina quickly lets go and opens the door and heads inside with the best SHT eating grin at Ochako. With the door open, everyone could see Ochako on Izuku's arm. Now with embarrassed blush Ochako lets go and heads to her seat, glaring at a giggling Mina planning her revenge. Izuku in a just sits down trying to get past the feeling of Ochako leaving his arm. He didn't like it. Shaking his head, Aizawa opens the door and announced, "We are having a special class today, based around rescue. We will take a bus to a different facility, change into you suits and meet me outside." With that he walks back out. With excited chatter everyone filters out. While changing in the locker room, Mineta says out loud. "Hey, check it out, there is a peephole into the women's locker room. We can see what they look like." With perverted grin, getting closer to the hole. Ida about to reprimand him for his actions, but Izuku beats him to the punch. With a calm fury, he grabs Mineta by the top of his head making sure he doesn't tear into his skull. Yelling out in more surprise that pain the pervert looks at his captor, with eyes that scared him to his core he brings him close and whispers in his ear. One boy in the room silently watched as the grape's face went from surprise to scared to pale-faced horror. No one else could hear what Izuku said to the other boy, but once he let him go, Mineta grabbed the rest of his suit and quickly walked to the other corner of the room to finish changing. Watching him go, Izuku goes back to finish changing, with everyone else curious to what he said to scare Mineta so badly. In the other locker room Jairu had one of her jacks in the wall ready to poke an eye out. Here's what Izuku said to Mineta and is both horrified and glad that there is good guy in the class. "Everything alright Jairu, you look a bit pale." Momo asks. "I'm fine, just glad Midoriya is on our side, also can you make something to plug this hole?" The girls giving her odd looks they finished changing and plugged the hole. Meeting up with rest of the class, Izuku approaches Momo to tell her about the peephole but she already has it covered. Counting heads, he confirms that everyone is here and ready to get on the bus. Ida blows a whistle saying loudly, "Line up in alphabetical order to board the bus." Izuku walks up to him. "Hey Ida, tone it down, we don't need to do that, also it won't matter, it's a different bus layout," he says gesturing to the bus. They all board, Izuku next to Tsuyu and Ochako on the other. After a bit Tsuyu speaks up. Midoriya, can I ask you what your quirk is? It seems to be two different ones, strength and that portal ability. That got everyone's attention. Izuku says back, sure, I don't mind Azuri dash, call me Tsuyu. Alright Tsuyu, it's only one quirk. And I'm not super strong, my quirk is called rip and tear. Simply put, I can rip and tear anything I get my hands on. As he closes his hands in front of him, looking at a certain boy as he does this. Mineta looks away in a panic. Seeing confusion, he explains further, for example, I can't pick up a car or bend steel like most anyone else. But if I give you a thick paper book I could tear it like it's only one page. I trained it so I can tear more than just paper, but that's the basic of it. Anything I can grab, I can rip it apart. What about the portals then? Kirishima asks. Oh, I completely winged that one, a couple of years ago. I thought if I can tear anything I want then why not the space in front of me, Izuku says, remembering the first time he did that. Momo in the back paling at the thought of a tear in space. Good thing that worked out, otherwise who knows. Izuku shrugs. It got quiet for a minute when Kirishima speaks up again. So why didn't use your quirk on Bakugo on in the trial? With the absence Katsuki, Izuku responded simply. Then he would be missing a limb. My quirk is to rip and tear, can't exactly use it someone without maiming them. Everyone on the bus realized how dangerous Izuku really is, with his mobility with portals and offensive power in tearing anything in his path. Good thing you are on our side then. Kaminari says, dispelling the thoughts going on in everyone's heads. Soon they arrive at the dome of the USJ, Ochako freaking out and shaking Izuku about her favorite hero. Hero 13 greets them and talks to Aizawa for a moment before getting back to the class. I'm sure you are all excited about today's lesson, but first I want to talk about my quirk black hole. Yes, you have used it clear our rubble to help so many people. Ochako says, excited. With a chuckle they continue, yes I have, but just as easily I used it save, I could use it to kill. With that the mood changed again, some looking at Izuku. He already thought long and hard about how dangerous his quirk is, just listens. You all have quirks that could harm just as easily, that's why we are here to teach how to use them properly, in this facility. She says with enthusiasm for the lesson ahead. While the class was clapping, the lights went out and in the center of the plaza a purple mist appeared. With a sinking feeling Izuku yells out, Eraserhead, look. Spinning around he curses, he sees dozens of villains come out with three notable villains, a big bird-looking monster, one lanky with hands on him, and the purple mist came together to a man. Where is All Might? He should be here. Maybe killing a few students will spawn him. Move up, boys. With a manic look in his eyes. With the order the villains rush forward. Eraserhead quickly orders, Midoriya, evacuation now. As he charges forward himself to hold off the tide of people bent on hurting his students. Izuku, not wasting time, turns and rips a portal to the front of the UA main building. Go through now. As his classmates run through, he waits and looks back at how Eraserhead is doing. He is holding his own but is slowing down. With the lanky villain watching his EXP leave the combat zone, he furiously scratches his neck. Shigaraki, do you wish for me to stop them? The mist asks. No, Nomu, stop him. Pointing at Izuku. Izuku, seeing this, looks at the Nomu and sees it disappear and appear in front of 13 with a burst of speed, putting themselves in between of the villains and the escaping students. Seeing the monster backhand the hero, Izuku turns quickly to see the last student besides him, Ochako, look of horror at the monster. He immediately grabs her and pushes her through the gate before the Nomu grabbed him. On the other side of the portal the students can see the Nomu holding Izuku by the arm. With a worry that it will go through the tear and kill everyone on campus, he shuts the gate. Ochako, seeing this, gets up to go back through but is too late. DMN it. At least we got the one. And the heroes. As Eraserhead finished the last villain, Shigaraki runs to him to finish him off. But block the elbow to his face as it starts to crumble, the hero backs away with a breathe. Looking back to the stairs he sees Izuku in the Nomu's grasp. Bring him here and get rid of this hero. The Nomu speeding off with Izuku struggling to get some wiggle room to slip out but he can't. The Nomu doing the same as it did to the other hero backhands him into the fountain in the center and not get up. Seeing this Izuku goes with the lethal approach and tears the Nomu's hand gripping him off. With a drop he goes for the leg next and tears it off as well. Falling to its remaining knee and hand he backs off as he sees it start to grow its limbs back. With manic laugh, "You are violent one aren't you? But no matter my bio-engineered super weapon, doesn't just have strength and speed quirks but regen and shock absorber one too." The handyman boasts. Izuku hearing this and seeing Aizawa not getting up decides he doesn't want to die, he promised mom long ago he would be careful. So he will rip and tear to get back home safely, no matter who he has to go through. Charging at the Nomu just as it was getting on its feet, he runs past and tears off the other leg. Jumping on its back as it screeches, he tears off the other limbs not allowing it to get back up. Knowing he has to work fast before it can regenerate and get back. He begins to rip and tear at it back. Hand in hand reaching the spine, then the heart, he stops for a moment to see if that did it. He sees the hole in the back of the creature's clothes. So he starts again, before that he feels it get up on its feet. Cursing himself for forgetting the limbs, he digs his head into the back and holds on. As it thrashes around Izuku climbs up quickly and grabs its head, and rips it off. With a shudder it falls to its knees then face down, not getting back up. Shigaraki seeing this teenager, the Misty Man, in a bit of shock of the brutal display, opens a portal for Shigaraki to reach forward to dust him. Out of breath he sees the hand reaching for him from a mist in the air. Knowing what is going on because he has done the same in training with his portals, he grabs the hand by the forearm and tears it off without hesitation. Screaming out in agony, he pulls his arm back with a missing hand. Shigaraki screams out, "I am going to kill you." But before that the front door burst open and multiple shots rang out injuring Shigaraki even more. "Kurajiri, gate now." With murderous glare at Izuku, he disappeared. Izuku runs over to Aizawa to see if he was alright. Just knocked out, he breathes out a sigh of relief. THR heroes on top of the stairs look at the corpse of a monster, with a missing head and multiple limbs around of the belonging to it. Jesus HF, Snipe says looking over the body. Seeing all the villains knocked out, Nizu and AM approach Izuku, standing up he greets them. "Oh hey, the bad guys are gone and Aizawa needs help." Coming down from the adrenaline rush of the close brush of death. "It seems that you also need some assistance, Mr. Midoriya." Nizu says with a gesture to the boy's appearance. "Are you hurt, my boy?" AM follows up. Looking down. Taking off his helmet with a hiss. "It's not mine, none of it is. It all belongs to that thing." Pointing at the headless Nomu. Shigaraki, the head villain, said it was bio-engineered with multiple quirks to kill you. Izuku says in a shaky voice. Looking at AM, he notices that his face is a few shades paler and took minuscule step back. Nizu looked only slightly better knowing what multiple quirks means. Izuku's legs give out and he falls to his knees as paramedics come to get Aizawa. AM and the principal rush to him, helping him to keep his feet under him. "We better get you to see medical and have you tell us and the police what happened exactly." As he looks around. "Alright, is everyone else safe? How is 13? My classmates?" Izuku remembered as he was helped along. "Yes, your classmates don't have a scratch on them and as for 13, they say they will make a full recovery." Though young Uraraka was very distraught, so were the rest of 1A but mostly Uraraka. Nizu said leading Izuku up the stairs and out of the USJ. Wincing at the thought of Ochako panicking and not know that he was alright. He quickly pulls out his phone and sends a mass text to his friends and his mom that he is alright and with the heroes. Arriving at UA a few minutes later. Looking down he still sees the gore coating him. "It's alright, it's not mine." Wincing immediately after saying that, Izuku just waves them off to show he is still in one piece. I'll explain later, but you guys he is cut off as Ochako wraps him up in a tight hug. I don't think you should hug me right now, I'm filthy. Izuku stutters out with colored cheeks. You idiot, he hears from his chest, giving her a quick hug back so that he doesn't cover her in the grim as well. She pulls away wiping tears, looking at him with a worried smile. AM guides him to the nurse's office to clean up and get checked out. After RG sees he is unharmed except for a bruised arm from when the Nomu grabbed him, they lead him to a conference room with all the staff. Except for 13, Eraserhead, and AM, there is two others that Izuku never met before. One very cliché detective and a tall skinny blonde with blue sunken eyes. Understanding that the detective is needed for a police report, he looks at the skinny blonde. Nizu introduces the two men, Midoriya, this is Detective Tsukachi and Yagi Toshinori. We would like to talk to you about what happened in the USJ. I understand the police, but who are you? Izuku looks at Small Might. I am the secretary for AM, I will be in for his stead. He replied somewhat quickly. With the principal giving a nod, he accepts it and starts with 13 finishing her lecture about the dangers of quirks. When Kurogiri appeared with the mob following, then Shigaraki and the Nomu. He tells them Eraserhead ordered him to evacuate the class knowing Izuku had a portal ability. Here the detective asks why he didn't follow his classmates. That was my intention, but Shigaraki ordered the Nomu to stop me and I couldn't get through the tear in time, so I pushed Uraraka through and closed it behind her so that the Nomu didn't get through and do who knows what here. Izuku explained, feeling more weary. He continued on about 13 getting injured, the Nomu brining him to center close to Shigaraki, Eraserhead getting injured then setting himself free from the Nomu. Explaining what his quirk does to the detective so he understands what he did to get free. After ripping the arm off it began to regrow, with Shigaraki laughing out loud saying it was created with multiple quirks to kill AM. Regenerate, shock absorber, strength and speed quirks. And probably stamina if you think about it. With that there was a quiet in the room, Nizu gestures him to continue. He does so as he tell them he was going to have to fight the monster if he wanted to live. So he did so, he tore off the limbs to stop its mobility then its spine hoping that would stop it. After seeing the spine grow back he goes for the head to end it. At that Vlad King asks if he thinks he did the right thing killing that Nomu. I promised my mom I would be as safe as I can be as a hero. And if that means killing that monster so be it. He says looking at the teacher in anger. How else was he supposed to stop something meant for AM? The detective speaks up, that makes sense for the multiple limbs matching the Nomu, but what about the normal arm at the scene? That was Shigaraki's, after seeing me kill the Nomu he got angry, his arm was warped with Kurogiri's help to attack me. So I took his arm off. Izuku says without remorse. After that he was sent to his mother. With a tearful reunion and his mother checking every inch of him for any harm, they head home. Seeing that all his classmates are already gone he feels sick. How was he going to explain his appearance when he looked like at least Ochako seemed to understand maybe. Well that's his Izuku one day in the future's problem. 9. Aftermath Izuku woke up with his mom at his room's door. Izuku, some of your classmates are here to see you. She says, then with a quieter voice. Which one is Ochako? She looks back, eyes snapping to a brown-haired girl. With devious smile she looks back at her son and runs off. Quickly putting on a shirt he runs out to stop his mother from embarrassing him. He stops at the hallway to see Ochako and most of his classmates except Todoroki and Katsuki. Oh hey guys. How did you find where I live? Izuku waves. A few chuckles and he realized he just woke up and tries to fix his unruly hair with no success. We looked you up and got it from a phone book. Uraraka said you guys meet up near here and narrowed down the search. Yaoruzo speaks up. How are you doing? She continued. Knowing that he will have to explain he sees most of his class cramped in his kinda small apartment. Let me go change real quick and I'll take you guys somewhere with more space and to talk. He runs off, with a smile at Ochako. Inko in the kitchen sees her blush and just knows this will be fun. After getting changed he goes back to living room and tears a portal to the edge of the beach he cleaned and trained. Where does this go? Mina asked. To the beach. Izuku says as he tells people to go through. Mina not going yet asks, the famous trash beach. Why there? She wrinkles her nose at the thought of the smell. That's where I trained for a long time and it's private enough for Quirk use. Not saying he cleaned it up. His class going through he waves to his mom and sees her smile. Suspicious, he looks back and sees Ochako grab his hand and pull him through. With some red in his cheeks he squeezes her hand and moves on to his classmates looking at the pristine beach sand and waterfront. I thought you said it was a dump. So you said to Mina. It was. Like it was all covered in trash. She exclaims while looking around. Yes, someone cleaned it, who knows? Izuku says looking away. Ochako being near sees this but doesn't say anything. He pulls them all to the pier to talk. There he explains what happened after he evacuated them. Telling them he couldn't keep the tear open without the monster going through, how he had to kill it to stop it. Here Ida got upset, heroes do not kill. How could you do such a thing? He says getting up. Some trying to defend Izuku he waves them down while restraining his own anger. How could I stop something that is meant for AM? Something with multiple quirks, they were planning to kill us and I had no option, and I wasn't going to leave Eraserhead and 13 there to die. Izuku says with steel in his voice looking at the blue-haired boy. Shrinking down under his gaze Izuku continued with his telling of the attack. I refused to get killed so I did everything in my power to return as safe as I could. And I'm not going to apologize if that makes any of you uncomfortable. He says while looking away, scared that he will see fear in his new friends. Ochako was the first to reassure him that it's okay, and he did what he needed. More followed, in the end they were all somewhat alright with it. Grateful that he ended up with such understanding people. Alright, I think that's enough gloomy emotions, we are at a beach, how about we relax today? Hagakure says getting up and stretching her arms. Yaoruzo that never got a beach day with friend claps her hands and starts to make rolls of towels and a couple of other thing for a beach day. Since she was filthy rich, she just bought whatever food they needed. Izuku showing the class where to get some food for the beach he shows them to a small shop. With the owner greeting Izuku, since training, he comes in often. They chat and he thanks him for doing a good job on the beach. Freezing he doesn't looks back at his classmates, knowing they will find out soon. What do you mean, good job on the beach, sir? Kirishima asks. Izuku tries to walk away but his arm is caught by Ochako still looking at the old owner. Oh ho, I mean that Izuku here is the one who cleaned the beach over the years. I've seen him come almost every day for a good while and now all done my shop is getting more business. He says with a big smile. Everyone looks at Izuku, but he tries look nonchalant about it while picking something to snack on with Ochaka still gripping his arm also looking at him with wonder in her eyes. The first to break the silence was Kaminari. Bullshit, you cleaned the beach. I've seen pictures of how bad it was, what did you do, send it all to the moon? No, that test was the first time I opened a tear to the moon. And yes, I cleaned the beach over a couple of years. With that everyone started to tell him what a good job and how manly he was. Finally getting back to the beach, Izuku sits down on a beach towels while some of his classmates run out to the water. Tokoyami, Jairu, and Koda sit near thinking the same as him. With Yaoruzo making everything, including bathing suits, everyone was enjoying their days off of school while the school updates its security system. After a while, Ochako finally convinced Izuku to join her at the water. Taking his shirt off showing off his hard work and training, he goes into the water. With multiple people watching stunned at how cheese-led he was. You can grind metal on those muscles. Hagakure says in a low voice. Forget the metal, grind me on that. Slapping her hand on her mouth Ochako runs to the bathroom with steam billowing out. With Mina and Hagakure laughing behind her, Yaoruzo shakes her head. At the end of the day they all had fun relaxing with only Mineta getting sunburned. After cleaning up, Izuku walks everyone back to the train station to send everyone off. Waving at everyone goodbye, he joins Ochaka on her ride home. "You didn't have to walk me home." Izuku waves her concerns away. "It's fine, plus I can just tear home in a second." Accepting that, they chat about their beach day. Enjoying their time together, getting off the train they walk close and arrive at an apartment. "You live alone?" Izuku asks, a little worried. "Yeah, my parents are working farther away, this is closer to school and a bit cheaper." Getting quiet, she grabs Izuku in a tight hug, thinking back to how scared she was for Izuku when she was pushed through the portal. Izuku, surprised by the embrace, just hugs her back. "I'm glad you are okay," she says quietly. Reaching up, she kisses his cheek and with a smile she goes into her apartment. Frozen by what happened, he stands there for a few minutes. With a smile he portals to his living room. Getting used to her son tearing a hole in space in her living room, they made a specific area where not to go for Izuku's portal. She sees her son with a dopey smile holding his cheek. Sitting there in the living room, sipping tea and with the TV forgot, she just chuckles and says, "Looks like you had a good day, what made you smile like that?" She says, covering her mouth with the tea cup, still looking at her boy. Jumping at her voice, he looks at her and sees his predicament, decides to run to his room. With the sound of his mother continuing to ask questions to his back. 10. Back to UA. Talking classmates greet him and Ochako when they open the door of 1A. Greeting everyone, he notices that Katsuki is back, and of course glaring at Izuku. He decides to ignore him. Sitting down, everyone chats about who will be the sub since Aizawa was hurt at the USJ. He was thrown and hit the center fountain by the Nomu. The time came near to the start of class and everyone sat down. Chatting quietly, the door opens and in come Aizawa, bandaged on his arm that got touched by Shigaraki and also some on his head. With tense shoulders he walks into a suddenly quiet room. Scanning the seats, he sees Izuku. Relaxing, finally he steps in. After seeing Izuku fight for his life before he blacked out, he was in a panic when he woke. Thinking of the worst happened, he was informed that Izuku was in one piece and the League of Villains escaped, but not before seriously injured the head villain in killing the Nomu. Knowing his boss wouldn't lie to him, he still feels better seeing him alright himself. With shouts he stands at the podium, the class asking if he was alright to teach. Waving them off, he starts homeroom and informs them about the sports festival. By the end, everyone was chatting about the festival when Aizawa says to Izuku Midoriya, "Please meet me after school. I have an assignment that will help you in your heroing." Confused about what the assignment could be, he nods and agrees to meet him at the end of the day. After class, some of his friends and Ochako approached him and asked him what that was about. He sees Ochako and thinks about the goodbye kiss before break. With a blush he tells them he had no idea, but if it will help it, he's all for it. The day goes on and then the meeting with Aizawa comes up. He waves his classmates goodbye and goes to find him in the teacher's lounge. He knocks on the door and present Mike yells to come in. "Hey listener, here to see Shoyuta." Nodding, he pointed to the same caterpillar that he saw in the first day of UA. With the sleeping bag rolling over, he sees Aizawa. Bringing Izuku over to a private office, he asks, "How are you doing, kid? I've been given the reports of what happened after I passed out." He asks when they get settled into their seats. With a sigh, Izuku says, "You remember that dog that I killed for attacking me when I was younger?" He looks at Aizawa. As he nods, he continued, "It was like that again. I don't feel bad for killing that monster, and I've studied on how to use my quirk on people without killing them. It's not really possible for me to use it on someone who wants to remain whole." Glad to see his student still wanting to be a hero after causing some carnage, he goes on. "It's good to hear that you are alright, and I want to let you know that I can see why you had to go lethal on the Nomu." With a grateful nod, Aizawa continues. "For the assignment, you have an incredible quirk for moving people out of harm's way. Just like in the USJ, you will be one of the most valuable heroes on the field for movement. So how does your portal ability work exactly?" The parameters of how I can tear portals open is if I've been there before or in line of sight. The moon was the farthest and hardest, but right now I have a few places I can portal to. Izuku says as he has an idea of what the assignment is. Perfect, I want you have as many portal points you can go to. From hospitals to populated areas. A web of points where you can send people to in an emergency. As his teacher hands him a paper of my locations of Japan. This is a longer-term assignment, over time collect places you can go to help you. Maybe over time even different counties. Nodding with agreement they end the meeting and Izuku heads out. He sees Ochako at the gate waiting for him, he should talk about things that make his stomach flutter. Hey Ochako, you waited for me. He calls out. Yep, so what was the assignment? She says, turning to him with a smile that made the flutters worse. Telling her about the assignment, she agrees that it's a good idea. Hey Izuku, can you help me train for the sports festival? She asks hopefully. Thinking on how he could help her with what he has. He realized how similar their quirks can be used in combat, just one touch from Ochako is a KO, and it's the same for Izuku. Grappling is his specialty. With shining eyes he looks at Ochako, excited to teach her his fighting style. Of course, and I know exactly how I can help you out. Want to start now? He asks her. With a nod he looks around and sees they are alone. Tearing a hole to the doorway to her apartment, they step through quickly. So what's the plan? She asks as she unlocked her door. Stopping at the doorway he tells her that he will show his fighting style that will help her. Looking back to see Izuku stopped at her door, she drags him in. It's fine, I'll go change into something then we can go. With a blush he stands in the apartment and looks around. It's very minimalist but nice for a single person. Still embarrassed by being in the house of a girl that he has feeling for, she walks back with sweats and a tank top. Alright, let's get you changed and we can go wherever we can go to train. She says, putting her hair in a ponytail. With a nod he tears into his living room and sees his mom on the couch with a blonde woman. Ochako greets his mother and the guest when Izuku comes in. Oh ho, Izuku bringing in a girl to his house. Misuki says, getting up to greet him with a smirk. She and Inko have been friends since high school, so were the kids until they fell out. But the two mothers stayed close with some regular visits to each other's houses. With Ochako blushing, Izuku says in a panic, knowing his aunt's teasing. It's not like that. We are here so I can change and train for the sports festival. Hugging her nephew he looks at Ochako and looks her over. Nodding without saying anything she lets go and waves them off. Izuku rushes to his room to change and head out. Coming out he sees Ochako laughing with the two women, he thinks, oh no, what could they be telling her? Embarrassing stories flash through his head. Seeing Izuku approach she gets up and waves goodbye to the two women, tearing a hole they walk through to the beach. The two women bet on how long they will last before becoming a couple. At the beach they head to a less visible area just in case. He explains to her his fighting style of grappling that complements his quirk, and tells her it's perfect for her as well. Nodding she agrees and they get started. 2 weeks go by doing the same thing, house, beach and then endurance training. They only got closer and closer with each passing day. Final day before the sports festival came, and while packing to leave, a group of people wait outside the door. Izuku tells Ochako that today will be a rest day for the sports festival. He opens the door to leave. Can I help you all? With a tilt of his head, he was pushed aside and Katsuki yells out, get out of the way, Deku. You extras are here to see the real competition. Well, here I am. Now move. As he walks out alone. Wow, this is 1A, not surprised, a bunch of arrogant brats. A purple-haired kid walks forward. Izuku looks at him and says, hello, I'm Izuku Midoriya, class 1A rep, and no, that is just Katsuki. He won't change anytime soon. With some surprise at the greeting he looks him over and is not impressed, so this is the famous class that fought the villains, not very impressive. Not liking how he was talking he looks right at him. Skinny, no muscle mass and looking down on everyone. Whatever, I'm here to declare war on your class. did you know anyone who doesn't do good in the sports festival and the hero course can be replaced? The purple-haired says as he leaves. Another voice pipes up, yet don't let all the glory of fighting some villains get to your head, after all Class 1B is better in every way. A blonde boy says with mockery in his voice. Izuku, getting angry at everyone making assumptions of his class, speaks up, no one here fought any villains. I evacuated everyone before I was stopped by a monster. If you have a problem with us fighting villains, then you only have a problem with me. He says as he turns to look at the blonde, always a blonde. As the student gets close, he reaches out to do something. Izuku grabs his arm, stopping him. His class watching remember his quirk and winces, hoping that they won't see a flying limb in the air. What are you doing? Izuku says with steel in his voice, something to do with his quirk. You must have a powerful quirk and I wanted to see what it was. As he pulls his hand away, his class thinking all the same thing, no you didn't. Ochako intervenes before something goes bad to worse. Alright, let's go, Izuku. As she pulls him away, headed to the exit. After that they head off with the blonde glaring at him while he rubs his arm. He had a strong grip. They leave and head to park to relax before tomorrow. Ochako turns to him, thank you for helping me train. It means a lot to me. She says with a smile. Returning the smile, he says, of course, I'm happy to help you any time. They continue on enjoying their day off before the festival.